All right, guys, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to be talking about our teeps, also known as our push kicks, also known as our foot jabs. So first of all, the main target for these kicks are going to be the stomach midsection area. So let's go ahead and start off in our stance. We'll start with the lead leg. So the lead leg is going to be our long distance teep. The rear leg is going to be our short distance teep. So just to show you what the kick looks like by itself, it's lifting the leg up and pushing your foot to the midsection, and it does a lot of damage, and it's a good technique to throw in your game. So with the lead leg is good for closing the distance. The lead leg is good for moving forward or advancing in your opponent's direction if they're a little bit out of range. And that's why they call it the long range teep. So if I'm standing out of range, I can't reach them, I can use this lead leg teep to hop in, boom, and throw the kick. So that's our long range teep. Short range teep. The way that you use that one generally is if your opponent is coming into you and you want to check them and stop them, you can just lift that up, boom. And the difference is that if the opponent is too close, I don't have enough space to lift up that lead leg. So that rear leg has just enough space to put it there. So if the opponent is too close, this one is for your close range. If the opponent is further away, the one in the front is for your long range. So a couple things that we want to make sure is happening. First of all, we want to keep our hands up. Big mistake that we see a lot of people do, and instinctively it's something that you want to do to generate force, is we see people do this thing there. We don't want to do that. Keep your hands up. Now, the reason why people do that is they want to generate force. A lot of times they do it for balance purposes. If you want to throw something like that into how you throw your kick, you can still do it in a defensive way. So it looks like this. A lot of times we want to draw that hand back, so you want to take the same hand of the kick, of the leg that you're kicking with, and you draw it back like that. But the other hand needs to come up and be defensive. So it looks like this. Like that. We do the other one. That hand stays up in defense. But for the most part, you gotta make sure that those hands are up. Big mistake doing these things here like that. You don't want to do it that way. And what I'll tell you is that initially, when you're throwing the kick and you're learning the kick and you're getting comfortable with the kick, it's going to feel like you need to do that in order to generate force, but you will eventually get the kick to the point where you don't need to do that. You're going to still be able to generate that force while keeping your hand up. Now, another thing that a lot of people do is that they bend the leg too much. They do something like this. What you want to do is, first of all, the force from the kick is not coming from your legs per se. It's more so coming from your hips. So you don't need to really bend the leg like this and do that like that. All you need to do is lift the leg. It's going to be a bend in and a slight bend, but not that much. I'll lift it up and I'll let my hips do the work, let my hips generate the force. You don't want to, you actually end up forfeiting a lot of power by trying to do that thing, bending the leg extra dramatically and darting it out. Lift it up as it is and use your hips It's going to be a lot more stable. You're going to be able to generate a lot more force. The next thing that you want to make sure is happening is that you're kicking with the ball of your foot. The ball of your foot is actually the thing that's making contact with the target, not your heel. That feels awkward. That feels awkward on your knees. It's going to be awkward with your balance. The ball of your foot, boom, is where you're making contact with that kick. The next thing is we want to make sure that we put our foot back down and we're back in our stance ASAP. We don't want to be doing like this and do that thing. And like I say, along with that bending that a lot of people do, they bring it back to this. That's unnecessary. We don't need to do it. You want to be boom, right down to the ground. Throw the kick, right back down to the ground. And that applies with all of your kicks. You got to remember, when you're kicking, for the time that you're kicking, that split second that you're kicking, you're on one leg. You're basically handicapped. So you want to get back to full capacity as soon as you possibly can. So you lift that leg up, throw the kick, and put it back down. And now lastly, a lot of times what I see a lot of people, especially when they're throwing that front teep, they add an unnecessary step to the mix. What they do is they'll do something like this, or they'll either switch their stance or step. No, you want to lift that leg up and throw it right from where it is. So this is a good way, especially when you're looking for that long distance teep. What people do is they'll say, and sometimes it happens, and it's not incorrect, but you can throw it in a way. It takes a little bit of practice. You can throw it in a way where you don't need to take this extra step to throw the kick. And again, it's not wrong. It's just you can do it in a more efficient way. You can do it in a way that telegraphs a lot less. So from here, I'm just going to lift it up and go. Take some time to get used to, take some practice, but it's going to be a lot faster if you can teach yourself how to do it. You don't want to add unnecessary steps if you don't have to. So from the beginning, we want to make sure that we're in our stance. We want to make sure that we're keeping our hands up. We want to make sure that we're using our hips to generate the force, not the leg. We want to put our foot right back down to the mat. We want to kick with the ball of our feet, and we want to make sure that we do as little bit of telegraphing as possible. All right, guys, I hope that was beneficial. Coach Sully, Reps and Sweat Martial Arts and Fitness. Let's get it.